Welcome to NC Political Tea, the home for conservative truth with a side of Southern charm. From the hollers of the Blue Ridge Mountains to the sandy shores of the Outer Banks, we've got our finger on the pulse of every political heartbeat in the Tar Heel State. So grab a sweet tea, kick back, and let's dive deep into the 2024 election madness.
Hello, hello. We have a lot to talk about. A lot of it's not great. Hey, Margot.
It's been a long weekend since Thursday. It feels like a whole year's gone by with everything that's taken place between the federal government, the Trump shooting, what's going on in our election boards in North Carolina. It's been nuts.
Yeah, the RNC. Don't forget that. Forgot to mention that. It's crazy. And a lot of it is, like I said, a lot of it's bad. How do you even make anything good out of almost seeing a former president and a future president get his head blown off on live TV?
Well, I was around when Reagan got shot. I have to, admit to that. This is my first election I ever voted in, actually. And it really did take me back to that moment. It really did make me realize we were lucky in that instance, and we were even luckier in this one because it was a terrible tragedy. And to know that we're in a position where things are happening, not because, in spite of being more technically savvy, in spite of supposedly having better armament, in spite of all this, because of bad practices. That's literally what happened. Bad practices.
Yeah. Catastrophic. Bad practices doesn't even begin to play out at all. And can you imagine this poor family? Actually, everyone who is sitting on that row behind our president, extremely traumatized. You saw, everyone's screaming, everyone's upset. And then a man was taken out just for going to a political rally. This is America. This is
taking his daughter to a political rally. And then on top of that, I might get teared up, but to know that that was something he was looking forward with his family. He was looking forward to going to see Trump and to shield her with his body.
Yeah. This is America. This shouldn't be this way. All of our enemies are clearly watching this. Let me tell you what they're watching. Secret Service screwballs. And let me play this for you. Look at this and I happen to agree with this. We can disagree, agree, but this is the result of DEI. We're going to circle this when it comes up. I don't know if you guys in the audience have seen this yet. Watch this. Keep an eye on this in the red. What you just saw is
what they don't show in that slow? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I do want to say this. They don't show where she unprovoked pulled that gun straight out into the crowd. She had it pulled forward before she tried to holster it a couple times.
Right. So there's a couple of things about that. So when you carry a gun in a holster, you have the safety off and one in the chamber, always, right? And so think about it, if you're holstering your gun and you're dealing with a gun with one in the chamber and you're screwing around, you may shoot yourself. Moreover, if you cannot put your gun back in the holster, it can be, someone could have taken the gun away. Very easily, number one, even when she went past the low ready. Yeah. When you're ready to, let me tell you what, when you come up from that 45 and you're in the low ready to firing, you will be pulling the trigger typically, right? You'll never, someone who carries, and I'm not an expert, it's what I've learned. When you come up from that, 45 degree, that low ready position up, you are going to be shooting. So for her to do that and then not be able to rack her gun back up, you should be able to do it with your eyes closed. You're trained to do it with your eyes closed.
Correct. That video is more provocative for other reasons too. They trying to get him in the car. Like it was like watching the three to the
Oh,
Keystone.
let me play that. Okay, so let me go on and play that because that was another clown show. They're looking around and they're like, I thought the door was going to be locked or something screwball like that. I mean, it was embarrassing. And the head of the Secret Service, I forgot her name. She was interviewed in the same interview. It was question. Yeah, she said the buck stops here, and the follow-up question was, "Are you going to resign?" No, I'm not going to resign. So let's see. A man was killed. 2 are critically injured. We almost saw our president get his head blown off on live TV, and the buck stops here. What do you have to do to get fired?
Oh, well, you can't. You might have to be a white man.
You may have to be a Trump voter.
You're right. That's true.
So, what is the meaning at the Secret Service for the buck stops here? What does that mean?
It means no consequences in this particular regime. It really means I had the pleasure of listening to Dan Bongino, who, he was a Secret Service officer. And some of the things he brought up that I had not considered were like, where was the aerial overview? Where was the protection drones? Where, what he described was when he was Hillary Clinton's
that's easy. Yeah.
Secret Service. They were at Hofstra University one time, and there was a clear shot from the window, and they just went and bought the decorative snow that you put on windows to cover the windows. Like he said, it's just not that hard to do your job.
I mean, you could go to the Apple Store or some other place and buy a drone that would go up higher than that, up that far, have it sync to your phone. Something very rudimentary.
What bothered me, what troubled me the most was, aside from the incident itself, was the next morning, Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania had a news conference, and in it he talked about how he and Joe Biden had already had several conversations, but he hadn't talked to President Trump yet. And to me, and he's a very good speaker. He's a very good speaker.
I thought he did a great job with that. I know what you're saying, and I agree, but he did a hell of a lot better job. I mean, he was absolutely able to be nonpartisan in his speech, unlike Biden, who has since taken an opportunity to take pot shots at Republicans I don't know if you've noticed that, but every single time he gets up there.
Well, I think it's a compulsive behavior, honestly. I think like when Lester Holt asked him about the bullseye comment. No, I said crosshair. I didn't say bullseye. Like he doesn't even know what he said. I don't know.
But he's going to go back on the trail tomorrow. Yeah, we should tone it down. But
they get extra support now. And Robert Kennedy Jr. gets support now.
Why the hell would you want more support? I think we're good. I think get a private security detail and leave me the hell alone.
Call your boy Eric Prince. Let him do your job.
Yeah. You know what? All of the Secret Service agents who have left because they are Trump voters and who didn't take the vax, here to recruit all of those guys, those big boys who are at least 6'4" and up, which you need to be. My son could have done a better job. He's 6'4" and 15 instead of this lady that's probably my size.
She got to worry about them sunglasses.
Hey, listen, you got to be looking good.
It's important.
I'll tell you what, it's definitely important to me. And that's why I wouldn't be a Secret Service agent. I wouldn't want my face messed up.
Listen, I don't know if I've told you, my sister is a retired Air Force colonel. I think, and she was an HR person and an MP. So she knew how to use a gun and she knew what your record looked like. But one of the things she taught me is, listen, if you're not practicing every day as if you could get killed, you're not doing it right. You're wearing a uniform because you may go to war.
Well, you shouldn't put a gun. You shouldn't carry as a citizen unless and until you have holster skills. That clearly they're not doing that. So let's go on to another catastrophic failure. The FBI worked for a couple days to get into a phone. I can tell you this, if they sent it to me and you, we would have done it inside of an hour.
The thing about phones are, Apple puts a lot of restrictions on phones, and you can add extra software in addition to what the restrictors are in Apple. And what we know for a fact is Israel knows how to open those phones. Israel is the number one at opening those phones. And if the FBI finally learned something from Israel, good for them. It took them long enough.
Well, a lot of women know how to do a lot of stuff.
I've been called the FBI more than once from mamas.
We know how to, we have skills, honey. We can check somebody out, investigate the hell out of somebody on social media or whatever, open phones, what have you. And you know what I mean?
I do know.
That actually, maybe they should take women from the field to try to run somebody down on social media and to try to open somebody's damn phone.
Might be helpful.
That's where we excel. Hey, call me a sexist. I don't care. Okay, so getting back to the news, unfortunately that happened. And then the RNC.
RNC was awesome yesterday.
The RNC was great. I know your man, Mark Robinson, did a great job. Let's play a clip of Mark's speech. There's so many things to cover. We're, of course, we'd be here all night if we had to cover everything. But this was a really, I thought it was
an envelope. My heart dropped because years ago I held one just like it. It was bankruptcy papers. I could see the fear on his face. And it took me back to lying awake at night with that gnawing worrying, debating which bills weren't going to get paid. Unfortunately, many families today are having that same experience. Under Joe Biden, grocery prices have skyrocketed and gas has nearly doubled. In North Carolina, factories just like the one I worked at are closing, leaving families feeling hopeless. But there is hope, and I'm proof. My wife and I never gave up. We kept our faith. We worked hard and made it through those tough times. Now I stand before you on the verge of becoming the first black governor of North Carolina. As governor, I will not forget where I came from or the struggles of the people I meet. And you know, there's someone else who will fight just as hard for you. President Donald J.
Yeah, so I put that up there. Whoops, I put that up there to show that with wrecking the economy, and we're the second most rural population next to Texas, Biden has utterly screwed up the chances for every Democrat up and down the ballot, because in rural areas, and you know this, like Mark was saying, I mean, people are hurting. They're going bankrupt because groceries cost them $400 or $500 more per month.
It's true. And on top of that, when you live in a rural community, the other thing that happens is a lot of people don't work local. They just can't. There's nothing there to do. So as in my case, you know, I work in Atlanta. That's 90 miles away. Add gas. Y'all may get on me, but I have an electric car. I have a Tesla. So I did that on purpose. It doesn't fit everybody's needs, but it fits mine. But there's a lot of people up here that drive 90 miles away to Chattanooga, which is 60 miles, or 90 miles to Atlanta. Some drive as far as, you know, Bryson City, which is still an hour and a half through the gorge. That's a lot of money when you consider there's gas, there's groceries, and it's really sad. But I thought Mark's message resonated. I do want to make a couple points about some things I saw that happened at the RNC. First of all, Mitch McConnell did get booed.
Let's put that up. If you haven't seen it, it's a real must-see.
Madam Chairman, the Commonwealth of Kentucky proudly cast 46 votes for the next president, Donald J. Trump.
So people gave him the what for, and I'm going to go right after your synopsis. I'm going to talk about his buddy, Tom Tillis, but.
Well, let's go through a few things that I saw that were interesting to me in the RNC convention. First of all, it was very lively. In the beginning, I saw Mark Robinson speak, which I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene started before he did. And they of course have the messaging of Trump. That's of course, but they also have the message of hope. And he spoke, and then following him speaking, there was a succession of successful Black conservative males that spoke. And I think the theme was very obvious. And I don't know that that was necessarily a good thing to do. It wasn't a bad thing to do, but I think it could have been sprinkled a little bit more throughout the program, because they had Wesley Hunt from Texas, whom I love.
I love him. But we don't play identity politics, so I don't like it when I see it.
Yeah, well, and that's why I brought it up. It was very alarming to me that they started out with Mark Robinson, went to Wesley Hunt, went to John James from Michigan. You know, all of these men except Mark, I mean, these two men after him are successful military academy graduates. I think they even went to the military academy together. That their Wesley Hunt's dad is a retired colonel in the Army. John James' father, I believe, was in the military, but owns a successful trucking company in the Detroit area. But the theme was obvious, and I don't like obvious themes like that. It just didn't ring true to me. And I'm sure you know this, but I'll let you know this if you don't. I'm not a big Michael Whatley fan. So when he opened the convention, I just personally don't think he has the personality. He doesn't bring the charisma. I didn't see it as a rah-rah event that I would have expected. And one more point I want to make before we get into this is a lot of people have reached out to me and asked me about the 12 votes that were set aside, and how the role
a little bit.
Yeah. And how the rolls went down. Why didn't it go from alphabetical order? Well, the goal in doing that with your delegates or your electoral votes is to get Trump over the top. So you have to have states that have all of their delegates for Trump, 100%, before you get to the states that don't, because we had 12 Nikki Haley electoral votes. So we had to go in the bottom. And I think a lot of people need to understand, people have a misconception about North Carolina that we are red. And while some people, and it's true, I would say we are red, but we're really pink, because you give up 12, that's a lot. Trump won by 1.3% here. No one in the Council of State got more than 5% in the election other than Dale Folwell. That is not a red state. Yeah. That is very borderline.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of work to do, and we're not going to rest on our laurels. And maybe what you just said, Tom Tillis is playing on, or maybe he's just an asshole. So I don't know which of the.
Maybe the latter.
Whoopsie. Okay, are we back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so we're playing the Unity game with a player that has been, let me remind everyone, censured by the NCGOP. I was there. I voted to do it. I don't even need to ask you.
Oh, you know I did.
You girl, I know. The guy is he sickens me, because he's always out there wagging his finger. Grossly unpopular. But you have to see what he did to believe it. So he's always, I don't know, Margot. I think either he needs if he's on medication, different medication, or a different consultant. You need to fire your consultant, Tom with an H. Let me tell you why. Tom with an H. Move the H out. Your messaging is terrible. It is a dig at the base constantly, while coming out there and saying, I'm going to support Trump. I'm going to I'm going to have an investigation, do that. You're not fooling anyone. You hate us. You're not fooling anyone.
No, he's going to support himself and his people. And to be very frank with you, Michael Whatley is one of his people.
Oh, well, that's terrible to hear. So he was interviewed today, finger wagging. You have to hear it to believe it. It was sickening. What's Tillis doing?
Tell us today if he has faith the Republicans and Democrats who are known for extreme rhetoric will actually do that, including those running for statewide offices in North Carolina.
Russ, I believe that it's on people like me to continue to, number one, lead by example and call people out.
No, it isn't. Nobody wants to hear a damn word that you're saying. But anyway, I digress.
Lead by example. Don't do anything your base asks you to.
Lead by example. No, you've been censured, so get the hell out of here. But anyway, I do want to continue.
I wish there was God in this.
And frankly, I think anybody that would use rhetoric that would cause, I feel badly for just the everyday person going to work, trying to pay the bills. I mean, they're being misled by these people by some of their characterizations. So I believe that every single elected official, and you are absolutely right, for every Republican that you could cite making some ridiculous comment, I could find at least one Democrat doing the same thing. That kind of garbage has to end. And it's on us to police our own party. I would expect my Democratic colleagues to have.
We policed you, Tom, with an H.
Oh my God. Just listening to Tom Tillis talk about policing our party, knowing what goes on in our party. I'm
We don't
sorry.
want you, Tom, with an H. We don't want you. You're not one of us, Tom. And I know exactly who you're talking about. You're talking about people that have had their stuff taken out of context from years before they were running for office, Tom. Let's hear how you talked about the most, at the time, beloved newscaster, the most open newscaster on Fox News at the time. It was Tucker
The
Carlson.
same fortitude that I do to tell my colleagues, look, if you can only get people's attention, if you can only get on TV, if you can only get your message out by that kind of rhetoric, you should really rethink whether or not you should be in public service. That's the way you hold people.
Tell us today if he has faith.
Okay, Tom. All right. Well, let's watch him again. He's going to go after every grandma that was shown in to the building during January 6th, everyone that has been incarcerated unlawfully, which, by the way, Tucker showed. Remember that time where he showed footage? Well, Tom with the H was interviewed about that night. Here's what he said.
It was, mostly peaceful chaos in his view, and said it was not an insurrection, said that Brian Sicknick's death was not related to January 6th. How do you feel about that?
I think it's bullshit.
There you go.
The saddest part about what he's saying is there are constituents in his state, Stephen Horn, Stephen Baker, many others, that have been affected by this.
Two journalists. Stephen Baker's with the Blaze, and Stephen Horn is an independent journalist that were there. Full disclosure, I was there. I was covering it for Fox News Israel. So people were there. Lots of journalists. I would venture a couple thousand.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think Stephen Horn had any malice or ill content or tried to do anything malicious. I know Stephen Baker didn't. He was covering it just like you were. But those two have both been
their lives have been turned upside down.
Correct.
Innocent people have committed suicide because of the stress of having to pay for tens of thousands, it may as well be tens of millions, but tens of thousands of dollars defending themselves. Tom Tillis is a despicable human being. I'm sorry. So I'm going to put up the definition of unity because that's what he's calling for, and a lot of others are. The state of being in full agreement. So I'm not going to join a call for unity. Now, if you want to do a speech and unify people, have at it. I mean, and I'm all for that. But notice how he's calling for unity as he's furrowing his brow and going after people in his own party.
He's not listen, Tom Tillis is about Tom Tillis. He's not about unity. We know that.
Unity can be something, and you and I, because we're clear thinking people and talk about, what's on our conscience. We've been told, hey, get on the reservation, unity.
I've never been one to do what people told me to do. I do what my heart tells me to do. And I don't care if it's judgy by others that I don't go along. It's not my way. I believe in truth. I believe in honesty, and I believe in following through. And I don't think that Tom Tillis believes in any of those things. I think he thinks he does.
He doesn't, because we voted to censure him. So we're all on the same page. Listen, Tom, with an H, we're all on the same reservation, my friend. Okay. We're all there. We're all good. So skipping to this, it's very interesting that in the cause for unity, Morning Joe was suspended on Monday, and then the Daily Show, their producers said, we're going to take you off the air. And you know what? I think, Margot, this is an admission. I mean, these people don't know how to talk about politics with the use of inflammatory invective. It's all in apocalyptic terms for them. I mean, they don't have the required dendrites in their frontal lobe to discuss these things, or maybe it's atrophied on them. I mean, maybe they never had it. I mean, for Morning Joe, it would take both of them a month or more of inpatient re-education before these clowns didn't get out there and do a week's worth of policy talk without committing some infelicitous screw up that would get them in trouble, embarrass the shareholders. I mean, they've only ever discussed Republicans or Trump, and apoplectic metaphors are by using gross historical inaccuracies like Nazis or Hitler or slaves or something completely out of step.
Well, I think it's funny because this morning, Scarborough came out and said that he was misled about why he wasn't working yesterday. They misled him. He's the back. You know, everybody. The thing I hate about the left is they're always the victim. Like right now, they're trying to make themselves the victim during this assassination attempt. You know, they couldn't get up on the top of that building because it slanted.
Well, look, these people are the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral. They've got to have, right? They've got to have their way. I mean, the man was shot and he cannot even get a break. I mean, this is, let me tell you what, anytime you play Lee Greenwood, I'm crying.
I am too. I lived through that. I had a baby during Desert Storm by myself.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be crying. I mean, you know, who wore the bandage better?
Who did that?
Me.
That's funny.
I mean, it's a classic. The only difference, obviously, is a persecuted president versus a persecuted artist who self-imposed it. But what he has been through, and he's still standing, it gives, I mean, I have to tell you, it gives me extreme motivation in my own personal life when I'm like, if he can do it, you know what I mean? I can do it.
Listen, I said this yesterday and I meant it. I said it in an X. He's the best MMA fighter that never fought. Like the dude's just got it. He is world class. And he's the best gangster that never rapped.
Wow.
He just is.
Listen, anyone who after a tragedy like that asks for their shoes.
His Ferragamo shoes.
Man, my heart. Let me tell you something.
He asked for his Ferragamo shoes. Let
me tell you what, I'm not playing. It's all about getting those damn shoes.
I agree with you. I just thought it was hilarious that he wasn't going to leave without his slippers.
Yes, absolutely. So this is something that you and I disagreed about, which will be fun. So Amber Rose, tell us about the before Amber Rose. Tell us why you think people objected to her having a platform to speak at the rally.
Well, I spent 6 hours in a Twitter space this morning, or an X space.
What space is that? Just so everybody knows.
Punch Bowl. I host the Punch Bowl in the mornings, 8 to 11, mostly 8 to 11.
Okay.
Monday through Friday. And generally, I don't do much but let people on stage and let them speak. But there are days when it goes much past 11. And like today, it went to like 3 o'clock. I did not stay on that long. I cannot stay on that long. But we had a varying degree of opinions. And there were very extreme, I'm talking super extreme conservatives that really lost their mind and made some, equivocations to Amber Rose and her past, and called her derogatory names. And I think even in part and brought up what Matt Walsh had said.
Right. Yeah. Matt Walsh. But look, we haven't even told the audience what her past is. So we're going to go into that in a second. But, Matt Walsh came out today and said, look, I mean, in his thesis, I agree with, right? I agree with. I'm going to tell you why. This is Brandon Tatum is like, hey, just what you're saying, don't judge others, etc. I'm not a fan of whenever a minority comes out and says, who has a big platform, by the way, hey, guess what? I'm going to vote for Trump, that we, the RNC, the GOP, we go running to get them a platform to speak. And I want to tell you why. I am a big fan of giving green cards on the road to citizenship. Spend a little bit of background learning about what our platform is, because we've seen people who have, and there have been a lot of them, who have come to the party. They don't know really why they're there. They come in for Trump. Then they start hating the damn Jews. And
Wow.
that's part of it. But look, when you don't have a foundation, I'm using them as an example because I feel like, the minute that they were influenced to go for Trump, and I don't feel like they really came to it truly on their own all the way, they were given a huge platform where there are tons of conservative Black people that are not given that opportunity. And by the way, they've been conservative forever. Try being conservative as a Jew, excommunicated from your family, etc. And a lot of Black families, it's the same way, right?
I have a totally different perspective. I honestly can't use your perspective because I'm not Jewish, and so I totally appreciate where you come from. I really do. But here's where I come from. She's not a member of the NCGOP or the GOP or the RNC. She's a guest speaker speaking her experience, where she talks about her father challenging her to do the research. And I think what I saw in that discussion that she made on the stage is, do your own research, come to your own conclusions, be your own person. And a lot of the flack came from her
back. I was a Democrat, by the way. So I have converted.
A lot of the flack came from her background. And I'll just say it out loud. Matt Walsh called her a slut and talked about the slut walk.
That's never okay. But
here's where I have a problem. Listen, the challenge I have is we have our own issues within our party. We have a lot of dirty laundry in our party. We have people that are child predators that spent time in jail that are district chairs. We have people that have been disbarred lawyers for tampering with witnesses. We have people that have admitted that they wrote bad checks and have pled guilty to felonies in our own party here in North Carolina.
We've been vocal about that. Guys, it's not, we're not going to be on the reservation if someone has done things and not repented. These are people that you're mentioning who are still in denial and they've been prosecuted for it, right? I mean, it's a totally different matter to have done things and said, I made a mistake. And who doesn't? We all have a past. But Amber, she was in March singing the praises of Satan and singing the praises of abortion openly. So for me, again, if we're here a year from now, wonderful. But for me, it's too soon. I don't like it.
I totally respect you for not, and bringing up those points for not liking it. I want to win. I want to win and change America. And if it means bringing in people that don't think like me, but may think closer to my millennial daughter, and it means, having to put my perspective aside and my values aside to get their vote, to get over the top. I'm not telling you I'm selling out, but I'm telling you I want to win. I want to win.
So, what do you think was the most salient point? Why? Because she was Kanye's woman, and now, he's gone, and, I'm telling you the way I feel. And now it looks like, well, he's off the reservation. So let's go ahead and get, the next best, right? What was her fundamental reason for now supporting Trump?
Well, I think she did support Trump. She just didn't say it loudly. And I think what she said in her speech was very poignant. My father challenged me when I did not like Trump and I brought the messaging that I didn't like him. He said, go do your own research. And to me, what she was telling people is, go do your own research. I did it. I realized I was wrong. And I'm not ashamed to say I was wrong. She's not agreeing with everything we agree with. She's not saying I'm a full-on Christian conservative. That's not what she's saying. She's appealing to young people who have a hatred in their heart, who have not done the research to know the truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how I became. That's how I became a Republican. I listened to Rush Limbaugh, and of course, I was told that he was, Satan, etc., Satan incarnate, and I was wrong. But I'll tell you, during that time in my life, I lived in New York, actually. During that time in my life, I was making a lot of mistakes. And through the Republican Party, infidelity to its tenets and its platform became a little bit more stringent and was able to do more things once I knew that I wasn't a victim.
Well, I personally think that there's a lot of room in this party for people who do not have like the thought process, who do not share the same religion, who do not share the same skin color, values, age, whatever. And we have to allow people, and listen.
But I don't want them to have a platform. All I'm saying is don't love it, right? But when you're given a speaking platform,
Sloan, she has more influence, more power on her own platforms than the NCGOP, RNC, and any other GOP combined. You have to understand, she is a megastar, and it's not them bringing her in. She actually brought them into her world in a way. And here's what I have to say about this, really, bottom line. It doesn't matter. She is, to me, the typical unaffiliated voter who hasn't made a decision. And someone may have been an unaffiliated voter and said, look, I'm not a Republican. I do not like Republicans, but I like what this lady's saying, and she's swaying me to go do my research. If that's what it takes for us to win, I'm in.
So glad you said that. North Carolina, we're running a serious risk here where people like her and others will go in and vote for Trump and then switch to Democrat down ballot. If we have a situation where voters do not associate Trump with the Republican Party, we are screwed down ballot. Okay, we're going to have to get 5% for Trump. But listen, I mean, let's look at Michelle Morrow's race, superintendent. 86% of all voters pull down ballot for that race. So we've got to win that, and we got to win it big before people pull down. What we need to do, to your point, is get those folks who are like, look, I like Trump because of these things, and say, look, he ain't the only one with that. Right? I mean, we've got these candidates, that candidate, et cetera. I mean, and oh, by the way, inflation and crime, link it all to that, because
safety.
Everyone is concerned about it. I told a couple of candidates last night who called and wanted to get my input. I said, look, when you get into even talking about education, there is you will step on a rake unless you know what you're talking about, right? So this whole thing of going out and parental rights, etc., be careful who you're talking to, because a lot of people don't give a damn about that, right? So you can't just go out and spew out these platitudes. You have to see what, and you made a great point, who's in front of you.
Research. It's really that's the key to winning.
Personal growth also.
Yeah, absolutely. And asking questions. Like, that's the one thing I always tell people. If you're going to talk to a candidate, especially the way I look at it, my philosophy is start at the bottom of the ballot and work your way up, right? Anybody in your local community that's running for any office, I don't care if it's dog catcher, school board, county commissioner, town council, make them come to you. They always want to show up at events. Go ask them to go to lunch with you. Sit down with them. Ask them the hard questions. But before you do that, do your research. Go check out their social media. Pull out a background. I pull a lot of
background. Not all Republicans are created equally.
That's right. Ask their neighbors. Are they nice?
Yeah, or ask their ex-wives. I'm joking. And so, speaking of ballot, we have another name on the ballot as of today. Tell us what happened.
Well, finally, the North Carolina State Board of Elections relented and allowed Robert F. Kennedy on the ballot, but did not allow Cornel West on the ballot. And they did that under extreme pressure from both the federal government and from Tim Moore's office and even Phil Berger's office. Phil Berger actually put a tweet out this morning, which was rare. And he talked about
do we give them credit for something?
A tweet is not credit to me. I mean, come on, you could break your fingers doing one tweet. That guy could anyway. But the bottom line is the pressure came from with the grassroots of the Republican Party. Carol Snow gets a lot of credit for that.
Forward Party, by the way, led by Patrick. Patrick, I love you, honey, but I don't remember your last name. I love you. And this is Andrew Yang's party here in North Carolina. Again, I'm not saying I agree with him, but man, they have really driven hard to get ballot access for all the parties.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't realize what happened in 2020. After the 2020 election, the North Carolina State Board of Elections arbitrarily, with no hearing and no notice, took the Green Party and the Libertarian Party off the ballot and forced them to court. We're in a protracted legal battle to get them back on. And then once again, here we are in the middle of controversy where we've had to get the Constitutional Party to get on the ballot. Now we're working toward getting Robert F. Kennedy on the ballot. The board is just flat out corrupt.
Yeah.
And we know that for a fact.
Yeah. And they're showing it in an obvious way. They became a national embarrassment. And I think that that was the thing that facilitated that. And so
they've always been a statewide embarrassment.
Look, I love airing our dirty laundry on a sometimes global stage. You can ask Duke, UNC, and ECU, but I digress. Then we have, loved this, Elon Musk and the Winklevoss twins. If you've ever seen the social networking movie about Facebook, they were the co-investors of Facebook. They've come together and said, hey, we're going to do 45 million, not a one time, not a one and done, a month. Tell us what he's going to be investing in.
Well, what's funny is the laws have changed so much that when Mark Zuckerberg did this in 2020, everybody didn't realize that meant that he was paying for poll workers, for ballot stuffers, for people to actually run ballots in voting centers. Well, most of that cannot be done anymore. So this is truly going to be money working on actual ads, campaigns, working to get ballots in areas where they need to be harvested, because we don't harvest in North Carolina. They're really going to work the angles. I think they're going to work with the GOPs. I honestly think they don't have a choice. They're going to start working with the GOPs and with the advertising agencies, which, by the way, it's nice to have your own Mark Zuckerberg on your team right now.
I mean, can we talk? And it's called chasing the vote. And so
exactly
making sure that, we all need a little kick in the pants. Some really do. And there's some people out there that look, they got a lot of stuff going on, maybe 3 or 4 kids. And the husband died, right? And listen, you've got a lot of stuff going on. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't, it's not top of mind. Believe it or not, the elections, guys, I hate to give you this news flash. They're not top of mind for people. That's what we exist for.
Well, there's one other piece of good news from Elon Musk today. I don't know if you noticed, but he also announced that he's going to move his headquarters for SpaceX from California out to Texas based on the California law. Because California has now said that the schools and the government really have more of a say about your children and how you raise them than you do. And he said that was the final straw. So what I've seen is we have red pilled Elon.
He's got 90 kids. And they all have names that are just truly out of this world. So he's got more kids than Nick Cannon, I believe.
He absolutely might. I don't know.
But I bet Nick's kids are named things that we understand. Okay, so more voter registration update. Remember, the information I'm giving you is not self-executing. It does not mean that all these people are going to go out there and cast their vote. I'm going to prove that tonight. Okay, so by the way, thank you, Andy Jackson at Locke. You nerds over at Locke, you do some really good work.
They do. They do.
Okay, so here we go. Democrats are consistently losing. I guess that would make them losers here, right? For other reasons too, though. Okay, so we've gained some voters, but the people that are like, hey, I'm not going to be bothered. I'm going to be an unaffiliated. And Margot, that unaffiliated voters cost 3 times as much to reach.
I do.
When we're doing things like Elon's investing in to get them out to vote, to do stuff. So just keep that in mind. Now, I want to show you this. Here are the most current totals in Wake and Guilford. Okay, I didn't know this. I mean, Guilford. I mean, they've got a lot more, you know, Democrats. The percentage wise, we've got, you know, a lot more unaffiliated, right? So that's kind of weird. And you're thinking, gosh,
No, I'm not thinking that. I'm actually thinking it's time to really get into Guilford County and hit those
oh yeah,
unaffiliated voters.
yeah. And you're thinking, well, how? But you might be thinking, wow, you know, doesn't bode well. These are a lot of votes we've got to get. But check this out, Robeson. You look at this, you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get our butts handed to us. Not a lot of votes, but look, just check it out. But check this out in 2020. Look how they voted. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Trump, 58% of the vote. Tillis, I mean, is only a ballot. 54%, right? Dan Bishop, 58. So this is an example of you've got a lot of maybe blue dog Democrats. I'm going to tell you what, you got a lot of working class people there who have always been Democrats, et cetera, and they didn't want the pain in the butt just to go re-register or whatever.
Well, and they didn't get harassed because they were unaffiliated. Like you said, the cost to reach out to an unaffiliated voter is just, honestly, I have to say, during election season, the calls I get, and I know you get them too, the mailers, it gets old. The emails, the text messages, I'm over it. And I can understand why an unaffiliated voter would just stay an unaffiliated voter and stay under the radar, because it becomes excessive. And frankly, the proof is in the pudding. Like, let's be honest, the proof is really in the pudding. The North Carolina district that I'm in, 11, really the only area that, you know, that Breeze lady, Clayton Breeze, whatever her name is, the DNC chair. Anderson Clayton, I'm sorry. She, you know, I want to say something about her, though. Yesterday, when J.D. Vance was named as vice president, you know, for vice president, her group, the NC Democrats, put out an X post, and they put a picture of the character Glenn Close, who played Meemaw, which was his grandmother, in the movie Hillbilly Elegy. And they thought that was a funny thing to do. Well, let me tell you something. I had to put that on my Facebook because I live in rural North Carolina, and you don't make fun of Meemaw. I don't care if she is Glenn Close, an Oscar award-winning actress. To make fun of someone's grandparents in rural North Carolina is surely not reading the room.
That's interesting. And a lot of people were raised by their grandmothers. I know
exactly.
I was, and that's
not reading the room.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Democrat Party hates people in rural North Carolina. They think that they are dumb. Anderson Clayton has said, I couldn't wait to get out of rural North Carolina, implying that there are a bunch of backwoods, racist, homophobic hicks. So she's already said it before. We know what she thinks.
Well, next time she comes up here, she might have a rude awakening leaving. People don't take kindly to making fun of rural Appalachians. And I have to tell you, that's something I'm very proud of, you know, being an Appalachian with a heritage that goes back in this county that literally is longer than the state is old. But I do want to get back to what you're talking about with unaffiliated voters. I had to take a side trip because I obviously drank too much coffee today. You know, we're talking about what's happening in the unaffiliated voter category.
Yeah.
And I think the 2020 election, like you showed with Robertson County, really illuminates where we stand and how we got to that 1.3%. But it's going to be bigger this time.
Well, you know, again, I think the challenge, and I know the challenge is getting people to pull down ballot. Here, let me give you an example. I may be wrong, but I'm not. People will be all gung-ho, okay? I mean, let's just take suburban Wake County. People are going to be security moms, and we do have security moms. They're going to be all in, you know. Wow, okay, Trump wants to close the borders. He talks a lot about fentanyl. He has a plan to do it. Bam, bam, bam. This is important to me, right? And then they're going to hear the messaging of a Republican who's running for the maybe Senate, maybe House, and their messaging is going to mirror the Democrats. Okay. Oh, yes, we need more funding for school. We need that. We need this. And it's going to be a mismatch. I will say to you, and I don't care if you're in Guilford or Forsyth or Mecklenburg County, if you're going to run like a Democrat, you're going to be treated like one by us.
Oh, yeah. And if you think getting a Democrat endorsement while you're running on the Republican ticket is a good idea, it is not.
No.
Or
No.
giving it even.
You have got to run on the conservative policies work every single time they're tried. This isn't now. Trump is a cult of personality. Let's face it. That's a danger to everybody down ballot. I'm telling you, people may not associate his brand with the Republican brand. It just depends on where you are. And if you want to run away from Trump right now, you're going to end up losing, and you're going to end up losing bigly. Because I'm telling you, I mean, I've been through this. I've seen people in Wake County when there is a Republican running as a Democrat, people prefer and trust the actual Democrat. Do not run away from Trump. The policies that he has, go and look at he's got 47 policies or 47-point plan. Go look at it, read it, and actually records a video for each one. That's like a minute. They're going to work.
Absolutely do that.
Yeah, I mean,
listen, ride the coattails too. My gosh, it's not like he has bad policies, especially when it comes to schools and school boards, and think about this. One thing people don't consider, if he gets in office, there may be a landfall amount of money. Well, when he gets in office, there may be a landfall of money that was not anticipated if he does away with things like the Department of Education.
I mean, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, regulatory, the reason why inflation exists, you guys, under Biden is largely regulatory constraints. I mean, obviously we were printing a lot more money, about $7 billion more during the lockdowns. But in that helped, but government spending and regulations. Joe Biden is king of both of those. Now, Trump was no schlep when it came to spending. I mean, he did a lot of it. We've got to cut regulations. We've got to cut spending. Trump has promised to do that this time while in office. And that's what you're talking about.
Right.
And even at the state level, Michelle Morrow has promised to cut the Department of Education. And that's the second biggest line item in the state.
I know.
That will give money to the classrooms. You cut the administration, teacher pay, and the rest will take care of itself.
It's the largest spend in a school district is the administration in the school district.
And they spin around with their thumbs,
Absolutely.
not doing anything.
Yep. I know we got a few more minutes left, and we got some kind of gossipy stuff going on in the state. So Jim Perry resigned, I think early last week or the week before, or just a little bit ago.
This is Senator Jim Perry, who's a very high-ranking senator in the North Carolina.
You're going in and out.
Okay. And then what else happened? Yeah.
Well, Monday, Jason Sane resigned. And what was interesting about that,
he's a House rep from Lincolnton.
Yeah. And I find that interesting that the two of them resigned at roughly the same time. Let's give or take a week, because it's my opinion that they're entering the cooling off period it's my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion. I'm not saying anything derogatory.
Well, Tom with an H says you're not.
Well, I think they're going into the cooling off period to become a lobbyist, both of them.
Well, he's already in. I mean, we already know he's going to be working with a mental health company, probably an MCO. These two guys were pushing the casinos. They're pushing the sports betting. They're the architect of that. Every bad socialist policy that we've had, you can look at them. And Jim Perry is a big proponent of giving all of our money to Medicaid expansion.
So they're either going to do gaming or big pharma. That's for the two major lobbies.
They want our taxpayer dollars, and at least now they're doing it now they're making honest men of themselves.
There's nothing honest about a lobbyist.
Well, I mean, they were, captured by lobbyists anyway, but now they're coming clean with it. But damn it. Unity, Margot.
That's right.
Unity.
Unity. That's right. Got to talk about that unity.
Yeah, just to show you, I mean, I know I was I got a little heated about this today. I don't like people telling me to unify when that's just a precursor for, his definition would be that we just take 75% of probably the big spending policies and the gun regulation policies of Democrats and just shut up.
I don't even follow him. He annoys me so much I can't follow him.
Yeah.
Not to mention his wife came after me one time.
Unity.
That's right. Unity. Well, listen, we're at the end of the time, and I really appreciate the hour, and we'll see you on Thursday. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about.
Well, a lot to talk about. Tell us again the space that you're in, because you guys cover the gamut.
Oh, we do. And it's mostly Americans, but sometimes we have folks from foreign countries come in, and it's all across America. As a matter of fact, several delegates at the RNC have gone up to the North Carolina delegation and said, do you know Margot in WNC? That's my X name. It's called the Punch Bowl. If you follow me on X, which is Margot INNC. I'm sorry, Margot WNC, because it's Western North Carolina. If you come into the Punch Bowl, we'll gladly greet you, let you speak, and we enjoy conversations. I will say I'm biased, and I've brought an awful lot of North Carolinians in there, so you'll meet friends that may be in your neighborhood, but at least they'll be in your state.
It's kind of like a next door app for really smart people who care about politics.
Yeah. And we covered the gamut of everything. I mean, Jay Delancey was in there the other day talking about North Carolina State Board of Elections. Today, Ryan Fortner was in there talking about North Carolina State Board of Elections. For those of you that don't know, he started Students for Trump. So there's a lot of people. I got a text message this evening that one of my friends in the Massachusetts GOP, who is an RNC delegate, met Chet Effler, one of the delegates from McDowell County, and said, do you know Margot?
Oh, that's great. That's great. So good. I mean, look, you can be as informed or not informed as you want. Remember, share this broadcast and we clip it up. We give you 5 clips per, and we have our Substack. Please join our Substack. We got 200 people to join, but in a 7-day period, not bad.
Not bad.
So, we're spreading out, but send it to 10 people. Get informed. Thank you, Margot. Have a glorious evening. See you guys on Thursday, same time, same place.
Yeah. Good to see you. Going to watch the RNC now.
All right, let's go. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.